Should I start or?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for staying on the line. Today we have with us Ms. C.R. Bhargavi, who's a Microsoft MVP, Microsoft Most Valuable Professional. Thank you so much, Assam Startup Nest, for organizing this. We are running a session on generative AI where Bhargavi would be taking us through some details about Azure OpenAI, tell us what the use cases are, how can it be used. And alongside, we also have a hackathon that we are parallelly running. It is in collaboration with Bank of Baroda, right? Now, this hackathon, the registration and the submission ends on the 30th of June. So we would appreciate everybody to register for the hackathon and submit your ideas in a PPT format. To get started, we will start off with generative AI and then we'll progress towards the hackathon where Bhargavi will just explain in brief about what the problem statements are so that you all also get better clarity of how to get started. Now, without much ado, I will hand it over to Bhargavi. Over to you, Bhargavi.
Thank you, Stan. Yeah, thank you all for joining today's session. And in this session, we would be seeing about Azure OpenAI, and I would also giving you a brief of how can we progress with Azure OpenAI, and then we would be seeing on some demos on the same, and would be touch basing on how can you work with it as well. So, before I get into today's session, let me give a brief introduction of myself. I am CR Bhargavi, working as a senior software engineer for food, and I am an MTech graduate from BITS Pilani, and I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, Microsoft most valuable professional as well. And I do write articles and blogs at my free time, and for which I have under the C Sharp Corner. So I have been awarded as C Sharp Corner MVP too. And apart from that, I do answer the questions which are under the Microsoft Q&A. So I have been a Microsoft community champion as well. So this is my LinkedIn ID. Please feel free to get in touch with me post the session if you have any doubts as well. Okay, the agenda for today's session would be like we would be getting started with the Azure OpenAI service, and then we would also be seeing the how does we develop the applications with the help of the Azure OpenAI service, and how can we apply the prompt engineering with the help of the Azure OpenAI service, and then how can we bring our own data with the help of Azure OpenAI service. So, what is Azure OpenAI? Azure OpenAI is like a pre-trained model which has been available. Like, say, in case when you want model customization capabilities that needs to be done, like you have your own data that needs to be captured, and that data has to be uh, trained with a different model which is already been trained, then that becomes the Azure OpenAI service. And you can also have the different kind of it's a kind of a tool that has been available for the responsive AI as well. Like you can have the different kind of the responsive AI that's been available under the Azure OpenAI, and the enterprise grade security will also be ensured under the Azure OpenAI service, which means that whatever the data that what you have it for Azure will not be like the data that what you give it for training will not be used for the model training. So the data that what you have under your enterprise will not get out of the enterprise is something that Azure will be focusing on, and so it ensures the enterprise grade security which has been available under the Azure OpenAI service. So what does this Azure OpenAI offer is like it offers you with content generation, wherein like if you want some content to be generated, like say in case you want the whole content, like that when you type in the content and it has to generate a content of its own, then the Azure OpenAI is being used. And chatbot and virtual assistant is something like when you want to build an your own virtual assistant being developed for you with the help of the natural language understanding and generation capabilities, then you can go ahead with the chatbot and virtual assistants over there. And when you want translation, like you have something in French and that needs to be generated in English. So that's still possible with the help of the translation over there. And text summarization, say in case you are having the whole text and that needs to be summarized, like the whole paragraph has to be summarized within a within a line or two, then that's possible with Azure OpenAI. Like the sentiment analysis is also possible. Like say in case you have the customer reviews being there, and from that review you are trying to get the feedback, and you need to progress with that feedback, then that becomes the sentiment analysis, right? So that's been possible with the help of the Azure OpenAI too. And what can we do with this Azure OpenAI is like you have to register it. Like first thing that what you have to do is like you have to register it under the link. The link could be of this one. Azure OpenAI is not free for now, at least. Like you have to register it, and then you once you had registered, you would be granted with the access after being reviewed, and then you would be provided the studio access. From there you can go ahead and use that. So you would have to register it with the link over here, and once you had registered it, you should have a subscription under the Azure portal with the same ID that what you have registered for. You should be having a subscription over there. And once you have a subscription, then what you can do is like you can create a as instance for Azure OpenAI in Azure portal, and then you can navigate to the Azure OpenAI Studio from the Azure portal, wherein it would be taking you part as of like https oai.azure.com. This would be the OpenAI Studio wherein we would be working on with the Azure OpenAI over there. So now that the setup is done and you had created a resource for Azure OpenAI in Azure as well, and you also have provisioned the resource. So we will also be seeing how do we provision it in Azure. So it's like you can search for the Azure OpenAI or under the Azure AI services, and when you have that, you can create it like what we see in the right side, or you can also do it under the CLI, which is like you have to type in the whole thing, wherein you have to provide the name, and then you have to provide the subscription, resource group, region, and then pricing tier. All those things has to be provided for it. It's the same thing that what you do in the CLI as well. Like the resource group is being provided, and then your subscription will then be provided, your region, and then what kind of resource that what you have to open for, and all those things would be provided over here as well. So it's nothing but it's the same thing that's been available under the CLI as well as the portal. And once you had created it, you would then be navigating to the Azure OpenAI Studio, right? Which is by navigating through https oai.azure.com. So once you had navigated to that, what we would be doing is like we would be viewing and deploying the base models that's been there. Like when you go into the deployments, you would be given an option where you can deploy n number of models over there. Like you can have the models which has been under the various version. Like you can use GPT 3.5 or GPT 4 or DALI or the different kind of versions that are there. So you can go there and select the model and put it into the deployment, and you can see all the deployed models over the deployment tab over there, and the different kind of models which are being available under the models tab over there. So this is how you can have the workings being available for your Azure OpenAI model. And post that, what you have to do is like when you want to connect in your own data, say in case like you have it in Notepad or you have it under the Power Power Virtual Agent. Now that the Power Virtual Agent had gone and Copilot Studio had come in, right? So when you want to connect in with the Copilot Studio, or when you want to connect it with Power Apps or Power Automate or any kind of data that what you have it, either it can be in Notepad or anything of that sort. So you would be using the bring in your own data over here, and with that you would be getting started with that. And there are two different models which are there are two different ways wherein you would be testing it. And to test it, you call it here something called as the playground. Chat is something where when you want to test the GPT 3.5 and later versions, then you would be going with the chat over here. And chat is something like when you want to have the chatbot kind of interaction, then that becomes the chat. Completions is something like when you would be typing in a line, and below that line you would be getting the responses over there, then that becomes the completion. And that works very good for GPT-3 and earlier models. So you can differentiate both things, and you can use the models over there, and you can go ahead and use that. Sorry. So there are different kind of the generative AI models which are being available, like GPT-4, GPT-3, embeddings, DALI. These are some of the models which are being available. Like the GPT-4 is one of the newest version, right? So you can still go ahead and use that model itself. And you can have the chat based models which has been available for your language and the code generation as well. And when it comes for GPT-3, we have the natural language and code generation models which has been available. And DALI is something like when we want to generate image based things, then we would be going with the DALI kind of thing. So these are the different kind of models which are being available, and there are a number of models which are available with the version as well. So you can still go ahead and search those things under the models tab over there, and from there you can get it started. Maybe if you don't understand anything at this moment, I would request you to stay for another 5 minutes so that we can get back to the demo part and understand how does it work, so that you would be clear on that. And how do we deploy a model is something very important. Like how do we deploy is like you would be first selecting a model, and then you would have to deploy it. Unless a model is being deployed, it would not be available for your testing or any kind of data that what you want to use for. Like you had selected a model, and from that model you would be selecting the model version, and then you would be selecting the model name as well. And once you had done with all these things, you would be clicking on with the create. And once you had created it, The model would be available under the deployments tab, and from there you can go ahead and use the model from there with the name that what you had created. Like my GPT model would be something that from then you would be referring on. So once you had done with that, you would be clicking on with the create, and your model would then be deployed. And you can deploy n number of models as well. Like it's not that you have to have only one model as in deployed um, for your Azure OpenAI Studio. You can also have n number of models that's been deployed with the various versions as well, and with the various name that's been included over there. Once you had done with that, you would be clicking on with the create. So we had now done with we had now done with the deploy, and then we have also deployed the model, and with along with the name and everything. Now that we want to test our model, wherein there are two different terminologies over here. One is prompt, second one is completion. So prompt is something like what data that what you try to give in to the model, that comes in as a prompt. Say in case like you had given something with the um, task of classifying content, and that is something like a tweet. I enjoyed the training course, and you are asking it for a sentiment, and that the data that what it tries to return you back, right? And that's called as the completion. The data that what you try to give in is called as prompt, and the data that what you try to get out from the model is something called as the completion. What you would be, and there can be different kind of task that what you can split your model to. One is like classifying content, the example that what we saw, and second one can be of like generating new content. Say in case like you want to write a poem, and from which you would be specifying on the prompt of what it has to do, and it would be giving you back with the result of it. Third one is like when you want translation to be done, then you would be asking it, and the model would be returning you back. Summarization is a regular one, wherein we would be giving the whole description of what it is, and we would be asking it what it does in the previous text, and it would be returning you back with the summarized description. And it goes on. There can be a number of ways that what you can try to give in as a task and get as a completion one. So, and one notable point under the prompt and completion is like how good your prompt is will be your completion. So prompt is directly proportional to your completion, wherein if your prompt is so good, and if that's been understandable by the bot, sorry, by the model, then that would be returning you back with the greater response that what it can have of. Or else if it's been confusing, then your model will also be getting confused, and it would not be returning you back with the results of what you expected for. So, testing models in Azure OpenAI is something that what we saw earlier. Like for the versions of more than 3.5 GPT, we would be going ahead with the chat version. And for something which is lesser than the 3 version of GPT, we would be going with the completion. As I told, you would have a chatbot kind of feel being tested inside the chat playground. And for completions playground, you would have the line being written, and from there you would be having the whole completions being coming out inside the same one. Just a second. So we had been speaking about the We had been speaking about prompt, and then we also spoke about something called as completion, right? So what does this prompt do? Prompt is a major part which has been available under the prompt engineering. So prompting is a way of instructing the AI model to do something, wherein it's an NLP concept that involves various ways when we put in the prompt engineering together. So it would be involving the various ways of discovering the prompt and getting the useful results out of it is something called as the prompt engineering. And this is one of the trending technologies that's been available over the market as well. Like you can have a different way of playing around with the prompt that what you have as well. Like what we saw, more precise of your prompt will be depending on your result. Say in case like your prompt is so good, and so your completion results will be so good. And your prompts can be of different types, like it can be of text to text, or text to image, or text to audio, or text to video. That can be of anything that what you can give for, and what you can expect out of the model too. So there is four different ways that your prompt methods can do for. One is like instruction, completion, question, fine tuning. Instruction is like what you would be instructing the model to do on. For example, you are asking it to translate it from English to German. It would be giving you back with the result, right? That result falls under the completion. And completion is something like where from the beginning to the end, that what you have expected for, it would be giving you back with the result. So that becomes the method 2. And a third method is like a question. First is a instruction, second one is a question, wherein you would be giving it a simple questionnaire to understand what the prompt had did. Or say in case like you have to understand better of a description that what the completion had given you with. So you would be framing in a question, and you would be giving it to the model, and that would be returning you back with the result of it. And the last one is like a fine tuning. Fine tuning is like the availability to train the model with more data that's been available. Like you can have different data being put in, and from there the model will be trained, and it would be given you back with the results of more. So, where can you use these prompt engineering is like named entity recognition, sentiment analysis, image captioning, classification, paraphrasing, summarizing, keyword extraction, language translation. So, these are some ways that where you can use the prompt engineering as well. Some ways, and not I have not listed everything over here, and these are some ways where you can find in the prompt engineering techniques, and you can apply it for. And these are some things where you can apply your hackathon codings as well over here, and from there you can use it as well. And the best ways to follow the prompt engineering is like you would have to give a clear instruction. And clear instruction, what I hear mean is something like when you are giving an instruction to the model, and that instruction has to be of very clear. Like this has to be done with an example, or with a solution of similar to this. So when the model is being able to understand better, then you would have a better result out of it. So your instruction that what you try to give in as an input should be of more clear one. And the model that what you have chosen for should be given uh, a work of a task which has been splitted into subtask when it's been a complex task being given to it. Like say in case you had given it a complex task, and that complex task can't be completed within one stitch, right? Even if it's our case, if we are given a complex task, we would be struggling back to give the results. But if it's a kind of easy task, we are given one easy task and then we are given another easy task and we are told to extend the same thing from out of it. So we would be finishing it much faster than the whole thing being given to us completely. That's the similar way that what you should be giving the model as well. You should be splitting it and then you should be giving it. And once the result has been there, from the result, you should be from the results yielded, you should be giving the other task that needs to be completed. That works as a best practice because of the similar example that what we told right now. Even if it's a human, it cannot complete the task at one stitch. And um and when it's like some when the model is being given the task, it should be it should be having a structured information, like what it has to perform on and what the expectation out of it, and what it's been expected for and why it's been run, and what is the scenario that what it's being run for. So these are some things that what you would be seeing as part of the task, and you would have to follow all these tasks as well in the prompt engineering to have the best practice. And then you should also ask for the justification from the response that whatever it tries to generate out of it as a response, like it had tried to generate a response, and that you should be checking that whether the output that what it had tried to generate is like correct one or right one. Say in case like it had given you with the result of who would be the winner of hackathon, and when you ask it for a chat gpt and it is returning you back with the result even before it's getting completed, the registration itself is not completed and it is trying to give you back with the result, then that becomes some kind of hallucination part over there. So it doesn't know that who is gonna win, and it has not been even given a data like where which team is also performing good, but it is trying to create an answer out of its creativity, and if it's trying to give you back with a result out of it, then that becomes the hallucination, whichever is not being kind of that the model does not know and it is trying to answer it, then that's something which has been extending out of hallucination, and you have to verify it by asking the justifications being there included inside the prompt engineering. So these are some ways wherein you can include the prompt engineering best practices inside your Azure OpenAI as well. So we had now saw we should be providing the clear instruction, right? And this is an example out of it. You are just giving it, I have two different things, and the one on the left side over here has a description which is of very fewer description being given over there, and the one on the right has a detailed description being given, and you can find the difference over here with the response that's being generated from the model. So it would be giving you back with the result, perfect result, when you given the response more clear. And there are three different roles in prompt engineering, and this is one important point that needs to be noted inside the Azure OpenAI as well. Like whatever the points that what we discuss here as part of the prompt engineering, these have like this is the major thing of the Azure OpenAI as well, and we have to understand these things first, and then we can understand on how does we work on Azure OpenAI. So system is something which is like you would be instructing the model on how should it act on. Say in case like you are giving in an example wherein it would be instructed to act as a Shakespearean writing assistant. So you would also be given few examples over here under the system on how does your model should act like. And assistant is something like where your model would be giving you back with the result, right? So that becomes the assistant. User is the place where your questions are being put on. Say in case like the user would be the prompt that what you enter. Assistant would be the completion what you get out of the model, and system is something like what your model has to respond you back with the completion. So you would be instructing on those things. Say in case like we have the same scenario of your model is being instructed to act as a Shakespearean writing assistant, and that's been instructed like given a prompt to write a short note for inviting to dinner is something that what you had given it as a prompt. And what you can expect out of completion is something like the words of thy, though, all those things would be included because those are Shakespearean words, right? So those words would be added here, and those can be included. The words which are being used by Shakespeare would be taken as reference, and what matches here would be added, and then it would be sent back to the reference. It's the same thing that what we would be having. And now I am stopping over here and getting back to the Azure portal so that we can understand it better over there. It won't take maximum of 5 to 10 minutes for you to understand the whole thing that what we spoke right now. So the first thing is like you have to have the Azure subscription along with the Azure OpenAI service subscription as well. So when you are have the subscription of both, then you would be searching on for Azure OpenAI over here. When you type in, then your resource would get open here, and from there you can create on. And when you click on create, your whole thing that what we saw over there would be getting displayed here, and from there you can choose the resource group and then region name, pricing tier, and everything will be chosen, and from there you can get started with that. And then once you had created, then that would be displayed under the Azure OpenAI portal. One second. Yeah, that would be getting displayed under the Azure OpenAI portal once you had given the name. And what you can do is like you can click on that particular resource that what you had created on, and then you can navigate to the Azure OpenAI Studio. So Azure OpenAI Studio is something where we would have the model and everything being ready, right? So you would have to navigate there to have the data being used. Yeah. Once it has navigated to the Azure OpenAI Studio, the first step that what we would be doing is like we would go to the deployments and we would be creating a deployment over there. So you would have to select a model which is being suitable for you based on the subscription that what you have, and then you would be given a model version along with it, and you can select the model version, and then you would be given the model type, and then model name is something that what you can mention. And and you would be using like the token which is being used per minute, which is something like when you type in for the maximum, when you type the prompts, and that would be, it would be like token is something like 1 by 4th of a word is called as a token, and you would be giving everything under the token here, and whatever the prompt that what you type in will be taken as a token, and from which it would be counted, and you can increase or decrease the token based on your requirement, and create it based on your requirement. And once you had created, you would have the deployment being available over here. And once your deployment, there can be a number of deployment as well, and you can edit your deployment whenever needed. Only thing is like your deployment name alone will not be editable, and apart from that, rest all is kind of like editable. And you can change the model version whenever needed. Say in case like you had used the model, and that model got an update, and that got a different version out of it, and you have to reuse, so you can still go ahead and use the deployment here and edit it over there. And once that's been done, what you can do is like, second part is like model. From the model is where we would be selecting on the model that what we need. So these are some of the models which are being available to you, and from there you can get the model being deployed. When you click on it, you would have an option to deploy, and that's the similar step that what you had deployed over here as well. Or when you want to create a custom model, say in case like you are building in a model from the scratch, you would be coming to the custom model over here, and you would be giving in the base model that what needs to be given, and then you would be training on with the data, and different kind of things that what we have to cope up with. So you would be giving all those things, and from there it would be getting trained on. And once you had created everything, you would then go back to the chat or completion or daily. These are the playgrounds where you would have the different ways to test. As we saw, chat is something like where you would be having the way of chatbot kind of feel being used, and completion is like when you have the line being return over here, say in case like a prompt being returned, and that would be returning you back with the result of it. And then DALI is something like where when you have the results needs to be described, you would be giving in the prompt, and that would be returning you back with the result. Assistant is something like when you're when that's been like audio or video that's available with the assistant. And coming to the properties that are there, or to bring your own data that needs to be there. First, we would see on the property, like the methods that what we saw right now. So there are three different ways of describing it, right? Like the role that are there in the prompt engineering, we saw here as system assistant and user, right? So this is where it would be playing a major role on. Say in case like you are instructing it as what it needs to be act on. Like you are instructing it to write as a marketing writing assistant, or it can have the different way of JSON formatter assistant, or anything of default or empty example, or that can be of anything. And what happens here is like the system message is something that what you would be giving the whole instruction on what you have to do, and then examples is being given here. And when you go down, you would be finding in the various ways of how does it work. Like Let me take different example. Yeah. We saw three different roles, right? So, system message is something like where you would be describing on what your model should do, and it's been displayed with the same example of what your example should be doing, and you can add in the example with the help of add examples. And then user is something like where whenever the prompt is being prompted like this, then that would be returning back with the result like this. So it would understand from the way that what you try to give in. So this is where you can set up the user assistant and different kind of role here inside the Azure OpenAI, and you can have the various ways of getting it set up. And this part has been done, and once that's been done, you would also have to select the deployment that what you need for. Since I just have only one deployment, it just shows up the only one deployment over here. Else it would be showing up the list of the deployments that what you had made till now, and from which you can select on with the deployment that what you need. So there are different kind of parameters which are available as well, and temperature is one such parameter which has been important in playing around with the creativity of the model. Say in case like if your model is set to 1, then it's something that it would be returning you back with the result of more creativity. And if it's been set to 0, then that would be returning you back with the result of what it knows alone, and it would be returning you back with the result of it. So these are some ways that your model will be having the various ways, and once you had done, you can go ahead and deploy it inside a web application, or you can have the view code option over here, and with the help of the endpoint and API key, or you can have the different ways here, like different methods, sorry, different programming languages, and it would be having the code as such being available, and you can copy and paste it over there, or the API key and the endpoint would be available, and you can get that, and from which you can use the Azure OpenAI service as well. So these are some ways where Azure OpenAI can be used. And getting back to the BOB hackathon, so you would have to get back to the bobhackathon.com, and as Stan had told, we just have 3 more days for the registration to be completed. So if you haven't registered, so I request you to register it as soon as possible, because the days are almost end. And when you go to that particular site, you can find about the hackathon over there, wherein you would have the Bank of Baroda, in collaboration with Microsoft, conducts this particular hackathon, and it would be finding out the brightest technical minds in India, and it would be getting back with the result. And there are different kind of challenges which are available to you, and the first part is something like where all all are mostly related to the Gen AI related topics, and you can go and search in over here. Coming from the first part, like customer service, so what it expects is something like it is expecting you to have the customer service experience by with the help of the generative AI technologies, to have the support being established throughout the various channels here means something like say an example of Teams and then WebEx or something of that sort, right? Like, so you have to establish around the various channels which are being available, and you can have the customer service being opted for it. And when you want to automate or you have to automate it. Is these are the expectation out of it. Like, you would have to automate, and then how can we process the response in the real time, and how can you integrate it with existing customer service platforms and maintain the level of security and data privacy inside the with the help of the automated data that what you have. So what you can do is something like what you can get the automation tool, any of the automation tool, and get it connected with any of the AI technology, and from there you can build in the security and data privacy as well. This is part of the challenge one. I'm not going in deep of every challenge over here. Maybe if you have doubt on any part, as we are running short of time, I'm just covering it on an overview right now. Maybe if you have any doubts, you can get in touch with me post the session as well, and I would be happy to help you with that. So, second part is like risk management. What it does is like it is also something using the generative AI technology, wherein you would have to predict the result of I mean, a risk of how does your what are the risk, various type of risk that are being available, and you have to have the analysis of large data that's been available to you, and with the help of credit, operational risk, and various data that what you provide on, you can have the data being. You should be able to handle that and get the model being ready, and that should be returning you back with the result of it. Third one is like audit and compliance, wherein with the help of the generative AI again, wherein you have to have the um, you have to check something like accuracy and then efficiency and all the standards which are being followed or not, wherein something that what the audit and compliance do, right? So that needs to be automated, and you would have to do with the your say in case like you have automated it, and such that the manual human interaction should be minimal, right? So you should be having it in that way, and you should be continuously monitoring it and updating it based on the requirement that comes in for your compliance, and you should be choosing in the data based on the same, like it's a it's a updated one, and such that it would be getting updated based on the incoming input as well, and it would be automated with the minimal human interaction. Fourth one is something related to the operational efficiency, wherein whenever the bank efficiency is having the way to have the routine works being done, those has to be automated, and all the repetitive, mostly it's all related to the automation. So you should be knowing any of the automation tool, and from there you can get in touch with that. And um, okay. Yeah. Operational efficiency, and you would have to operate the routine task and workflows that are there, and you have to provide the intelligence input based on that. Based on that, and you should be taking up the decision making support with the help of it, and your manual efforts again here should be reduced, and how can it be done with the minimal processing time is something that's been expected. Okay. With the financial advisory, what we have here is something related to the finance advice that's been given to the customers, wherein what we have to do here is part of like you have to generate the tailored investment strategies, wherein you have to have the real time advisory services that needs to adapt the um, financial conditions that whatever occurs in. And you should also be implementing the AI driven advisory process that the customer uses, like say in case you are using an advisory process, and from there you you cannot have a person being sitting behind you and answering each and every question, right? So you have to think in that way. And how does a AI can replace a person, and it would be giving you back with the result of what the exact process, and it should also build customer trust and confidence based on that. Sixth one is something related to the personalized content generation, wherein when you want content for customers which needs to be like enhancing their customer engagement and experiencing with the bank, then that needs to be done. What we have to do here as part of the challenge 6 is like, you have to build uh, again an AI system which would be having the marketing materials, financial reports, and educational contents that's been used for the customers. And you have to have the data that's been integrated along with the system. And from that you have to get in the content which the individual prefers for, and it has to segregate that and has to give out to the customer based on the needs what they are expecting for. And it should be focusing on with the customer, and the customer should be of satisfied with the communication what the AI is being providing to the customer. Say like it should be of something related to a human kind of thing. And it should be from the AI is what the expectation is. So these are the six challenges, and once you are done with that, then you would be sorry you would be clicking on with the solve problem. And once you click on the solve problem, you would be taken up to the registration page. And from there, once you had registered it, you would be given some time, and from there you can take up the problem and solve the solution for it. Yeah, these are the deadline for it. So until 30th, you have time for submitting your ideas. And your ideas will be taken into consideration from first to third. And from by fourth, you would be given time for prototype development and submission. And from there, you would have to submit it by 28th. And once you had submitted it, you would be selected if you are a finalist by 31st July. And the final event would be happening in Mumbai uh, as the first week of August. So this is the overview of hackathon that happens along with the Bank of Baroda with Microsoft. So make use of this. It's one of the easy challenges that what we have as well. If you think of what we have discussed it today, it would be of so simple. Like the part that what we saw as a last part of the session, few part of the sessions is the major part that many of the challenges expects here. So think of it and get help if you need it, and proceed with that and submit the solutions as and when required, and make use of the opportunity. Yeah. Stan, do you want to add something over here?
No, perfect. So thank you so much, Bhargavi, for this comprehensive explanation. And I'm pretty sure that the audience have certainly appreciated all that was discussed today. Now, in reference to the hackathon, I would encourage all the participants to register and submit your ideas on the website. All you have to do is mention your idea in a PPT format that is already available on the website. Download the PPT format, mention your idea there, and submit it on the website. I would encourage everybody to do it because we just have about another 3 days to go. put in your brilliant thoughts, put in your brilliant ideas into a PPT, and stand a chance to win the lucky draw and the prize. Yeah. So thank you so much again, Bhargavi, for this session, and also to take our participants through the problem statements. I'm sure that they have much more clarity of how to go about from here. So I really appreciate all this, and thank you so much again for all the participants for giving us your time and being so patient on this session. We will look forward to seeing your ideas on the website. Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
again.
Stan.
You're welcome, Bhargavi.